Hey guys, it's Mrs. Yeagle, and this is chapter 12 of The Darkest Hour. I'm starting on page 143. We left off on a super cliffhanger with chapter 11, where they are running through the darkness after just being attacked by a French police patrol. I'm really nervous. Chapter 12. We fly over the wet hills. Our legs stumble on the slick grass and stone, and our ears echo with the fresh shouts of the patrols. Every step we take leads us farther away from Sabine, and my heart hurts at the thought. She might be fast, but not even she can outrun their bullets. A part of me wants to double back to Sabine's side, but the other part of me knows that we have to stay ahead of the soldiers. There might be a handful of them now, but the Nazis will soon send in reinforcements. More soldiers, more dogs, more bullets that we won't be able to dodge. The rain keeps falling. Our clothes soak through and cling against our skin, but I don't even think about stopping until we're so out of breath that we might collapse. I search for a place to hide, but there aren't any trees or crumbling buildings to shield us from sight. We're out in the open fields all around us, so I drop to my knees and flatten onto my stomach. Dorner doesn't need any coaxing to do the same. We'll rest for a few minutes, I say between breaths, and no more. A peek at my watch tells me that we need to make up for lost time. We have an hour and a half until we have to reach the beach. There won't be any second chances if we miss that submarine. While Dorner wipes the rain from his glasses, I scan the horizon for any trace of a flashlight or headlight that could give away the Nazis' location. But I find nothing except for the black clouds overhead and the shadows of the surrounding hills. Though I know that the patrols could be skulking around the next corner, like a coiled-up snake waiting for us to step on them. Any sign of Odette? Will she attempt to rendezvous with us? Whispers Dorner. I shake my head. Sabine wouldn't take that risk. She'll lead the Nazis away from us with her last breath if necessary. A twinge plucks at my chest, and I hope with everything inside of me that she'll be able to escape. If she doesn't, I won't let her sacrifice be in vain. We could go back, Dorner says. No, we can't. The mission always comes first, I echo Sabine. I search through our pouch for a canteen, but find mine empty. I sigh and toss it aside. Here, have some of mine, Dorner says, offering his own canteen that he's attached to his belt loop. Save it for yourself, I say reluctantly. I've been trained to go without water, but Dorner hasn't. There's plenty. He nudges the canteen into my hand and won't drop the matter until I draw on a slow sip. How much farther until we reach the submarine? Not far, I lie. We'll be cutting it close. Don't worry. I'll get you there. That isn't my main concern. I almost choke on the water because if that isn't his main concern, then there must be something he isn't telling me. What is your concern then? The British. Once you hand me over to them, they could arrest me, throw me in prison. Tell them what you've told me. Show them the photographs. Will that be enough? He swats his hand against the damp grass and peers at me from the corner of his eye. Perhaps you could put in a good word for me? You must have a contact with them if you were able to arrange for my transport across the channel. It doesn't matter what I say. What matters is what's in your folder. He chews on that for a moment. I suppose you're right. His mouth kicks up into a half smile. Although a good word can't hurt, I'd sincerely appreciate it, Marie-Louise. We'll see. I suppose I could radio the SOE once I get back to headquarters. If I get back there, that is. But I meant it when I told him that what I have to say won't matter much in the end. His evidence will have to speak for itself. Dorner seems to drop the matter for now. Do you have any more of those pen contraptions in case we run into the patrols again? You used my last one. A pity. I've never seen anything like it. Does the Resistance make them? He tilts his head like he's puzzling out the results of an experiment. They seem rather handy. They are handy, I say, but I don't tell him where I get the weapons. His question might be innocent, but I can't spill covert ops secrets. By the way, good shot tonight. It was nothing. He wipes his glasses again, and I see that one of the lenses has cracked down the middle. I was lucky. I wouldn't call it lucky. I'd call it good aim. Excellent aim, really. I point at his glasses. You only had use of one eye with that lens cracked. It's not a strong prescription, he demurs and tucks the glasses in his shirt pocket as if to prove his point. And you give me too much credit. I haven't shot a gun since I was a boy, back when my brother took me hunting. His voice cracks. He was drafted by the Nazis a year ago. I hope he's all right. I nod, though I can't quite echo his sentiments. What if his brother's regiment had fought Theo's? It's a minuscule possibility, but it's still there, reminding me of the fact that Dorner and I stood on opposite sides of this war just a month ago. That makes me wonder, too, what Theo would think if he saw me sitting here and sharing a canteen with a former Nazi scientist. He'd probably call me crazy, even if I explained everything about Zierfall to him. "Watch your back, Luce," he'd tell me, and that thought makes my heart ache. I only wish I'd been the one watching Theo's back the day he was shot. I wish I had been there to push him out of the way, because he would have done the same for me. I get back onto my feet and offer my hand to Dorner. Maybe I can't take a bullet for my brother, but I can deliver Dorner to the SOE and get the coordinates to the laboratory. It's too late to save Theo, but it won't be too late to save the thousands of soldiers and civilians who could die of Zierfall. We hit our grueling pace once again, with only the crashing of the waves to keep us company. For a man who has seemingly spent most of his time in a laboratory, Dorner manages to keep up with me. When we stop again, I'm the one who needs more water, and not the other way around. Dorner rests his hands on his knees while he studies his breath. "I don't mean to slow us down." "You haven't," I say. "You don't need to lie for my sake. If it weren't for me, I'm sure you would have swam across the channel by now." He sees me smirk and goes on. "It's true. I've yet to see you make a mistake." I almost snort, wishing Major Harkin could hear that. Tell that to my supervisor. "You two don't get along, I take it?" "Not always." I wait for him to ask me more, but he doesn't. He's smart enough to know that it isn't his place, but the silence between us stretches and swells, and the memory of my Class 3 infraction stretches and swells with it. I never even told Tilly about what happened that night. I was too ashamed. That's why it takes me by surprise when I hear myself tell him, "I was supposed to take out a target a few months ago. It didn't go as planned." Take out? Kill. His eyes widen. Ah. My throat grows tight as I think about that mission. It'd been my first solo assignment, and it took place about a month after I landed in France. I left headquarters that rainy evening with a bounce in my step. I was so sure that I'd be pinned with a new title by the end of the night, Agent Blaze. I knew it would be mine. My target's name was Alar, a known collaborator who had gained the trust of a few resistance members only to send them to prison. His reward? Money and a pat on the head by the Germans. Alar would have been a simple kill. He was old and slow and already sickly with a disease that made it hard for him to breathe. Harkin had laid out the plan for me, too. I'd follow Alar into a busy metro car and nick his ankle with the tip of my umbrella, breaking open the skin so that the poison on the umbrella tip would seep into his bloodstream. Easy as the alphabet song. It had started off without a hitch. I'd worn my hair in 2 French braids and put on my press school uniform. My piece de resistance, though, was a light pink umbrella edged with ruffles that I'd sewn on myself. Tilly told me she didn't even recognize me at all. I took that as a compliment. Rain showers had drenched the city that day, packing the metro full with grumbling passengers. I followed Alar into a second-class train car and elbowed 3 men aside to get a seat close to him. Right before we reached his stop, I made my move. I maneuvered myself behind him while clutching onto my umbrella. My thumb hovered over the button that would release the needle tip. But as I aimed the tip at Alar's ankle, I broke out into a cold sweat. First-time nerves, I thought. My trainers told me this might happen, so I breathed in deep and reminded myself of what Alar had done. A traitor like him didn't deserve to live. I tried aiming the umbrella again, but everything worsened from there. My fingers shook, my neck reddened. I didn't know what had come over me. Thinking about Alar's crimes made little difference, so I thought about Theo. I would never see my brother again, yet someone like Alar kept on breathing. That gave me just enough wherewithal to press the button and swing it at Alar's foot. It was too late. The doors opened and Alar plunged into the crowded train platform. I scrambled to catch up with him, but ran into a young woman instead. She couldn't have been much older than I was. Both of us fell to the ground, and I was about to run off when she cried out and clutched her calf. Somehow my umbrella had grazed her skin, and now a thin line of blood was staining her stocking. It was just a nick, but dread filled me to the brim. Within a day or two, she wouldn't be able to get out of bed, and it wouldn't be long until she stopped breathing completely. The poison was that potent. I stood frozen on the platform, watching that coward Alar shuffling away while this girl dusted herself off. I had my orders, but I couldn't leave her to die. A heavy hand fell on my shoulder right then. I spun around to find Harkin standing over me. Apparently, my first solo mission wasn't a solo one after all. He'd been trailing me all along, and seeing the scowl on his face, he must have regretted sending me out already. "Sir," he shoved a tiny bottle into my palm. "The antidote. Take care of the civilian." "I'm sorry." "No apologies. Not here. But you've done enough. Find the girl. Fix this. He gave me a push. I made it 5 steps before I turned around to apologize again, but Harkin was long gone. By the time I returned home, everything had been settled. I'd caught up with the girl and swiped the top of her foot with my umbrella tip, this time with the antidote rather than the poison. Harkin had taken care of Alar. It wouldn't be long before he'd be found strangled in a rundown cafe restroom, but Harkin wouldn't let me off easily just because our target was dead. He sent me to desk duty so fast that my head spun, and that was where I stayed until he finally agreed to give me another chance with Monsieur Trevor. Not that that had gone much more smoothly. Did you catch your target? Dorner says, cutting through the quiet night. We did, I replied dryly. Ah, he says again. The Resistance trains you for this type of thing? I tense. He's likely asking me out of scientific curiosity, but I don't like the implication behind the question. Yes, the OSS and the Resistance trains their agents to kill, but we weren't the ones who started this war. Don't the Nazis train their soldiers to kill people? I retort. I hadn't thought of it that way, he murmurs. My apologies. I wave him off. There's no more time for I'm sorries and chit-chat. I urge us to get back into a run. With the coastline just beyond our fingertips, we draw so close to the ocean that the spray of salt water dusts our faces. A curtain of fog greets us too, and I hope it will grow thicker. It should mask our arrival at the beach. I spot a village ahead. If the map is correct, it will be Otterville, and that means we're nearly there. North of town, we reach the cliffs that buttress the ocean, and we skim along the tops of them until I find a rocky path down to the beach. I hurry down the jagged boulders, but my hand slides off a slick rock and I nearly lose my grip. Dorner is quick to catch my wrist, though, and I mumble a merci. That's twice now that he's watched my back tonight. I wonder what Harkin would say to that. Frankly, what would I have said to that before I met Dorner? By the time my feet meet the sand, we're late. I tell Dorner to stay put while I forge ahead alone. I'll be faster that way. As long as I can flag down the SOE boatman, that'll buy us a little time. But the fog is thick and gray, cutting my visibility to next to nothing, and I see only dark waves in front of me.